All right.
Hi, everyone. So this is the June 28th meeting of the RDA. There's no public hearings or anything, but we are going to have tonight Mark Kulos, who's going to run the meeting. The chairman, Jim Porto, is not able to attend, nor the vice chairman, Bob Buckley. So if you
All
want
right.
to start, Mark.
Okay, I believe we have a quorum. We have 5 members sitting. Absent are Jim Porto and Bob
Buckley.
Buckley. Losing my mind here. All right. So call to order. It's 6:03. Let's see. We have the minutes from May 24th, 2021 meeting. I'll take entertain a motion to approve.
Tucker
I'll
Braddock.
make that motion, Mark.
I'll second it.
All right.
That was Stacy Gould and Tucker Braddock seconding.
No, Rich Rebecca.
Rich, thank you, Richard.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so it's unanimous. Any opposed? No. Okay, so it's motion carries 5-0. Minutes are approved.
Great.
And then the next item of business, we have what? Any communications?
Yes, let me get here. Hold on. Take a second here. So we have correspondence. So, oh, I'm sorry, go back to the agenda. Here we are. So under correspondence, I have a couple of things. Oh, no, we're to correspondence, and correspondence is down lower. So I will wait and do it later on after tax 21, if that's okay. I'm sorry about that. I didn't see that it was on here twice.
All right. Okay, so no correspondence right now. Under old business, we have Amy Valancourt, who's going to give us a update on projects currently underway.
So right now we've been working on the YMCA. We are just waiting for the final court decision for the city to take ownership under the foreclosure.
I think it's July 12th, I think I sent to you. I think that's what it is.
Right. So we had gotten in the building once, done an inspection for hazardous building materials. Our next steps is to do the drilling in the underground storage tank removal. We were given a date of July 21st that the city will take ownership of the YMCA building. So that's our scheduled date for getting back in.
May I ask a question? Sorry to bring this up, but in a previous meeting, we discussed about the safety of the building in which to be able to do any of that. Has any of that been remedied?
Well, one of the things we talked about during that meeting, as far as the safety, what we indicated is that we could access the majority of the building. And with regard to like COVID or the hazardous building materials being deteriorated and on the ground, our folks were going in there with PPE. So personal protective equipment, respirators, suits.
All right, and the oil tank, I assume, is outside?
Yes.
All right,
All right, so that,
and we have till what, the end of August to complete this, or end of September?
So they give you until the end of September. You have to have all your work done by the end of September, but then they give you another 60 days, maybe 90 days to get in your grant closure documentation.
All right,
So
but
for purposes of this group, all the work will be completed before the end of September.
all right, so all the actual work has to be completed, and then you have 60 days to file a report.
Correct.
Okay.
Amy, is there any more tasks besides YMCA that you guys are outstanding on, or that you're still working on any other projects?
There's a couple final reports that we have to get to you, Deanna. We created drafts,
Okay.
but there's a couple final reports.
But no other field work or anything like that?
No, everything's been done.
so.
All right, go
I'm
ahead,
sorry.
Rich.
Yeah, but those additional reports that you were just talking about, is there adequate funding to go and support that?
Yeah, we already have a contract in place and that money's been accounted for in all the budget numbers we gave you.
Thank you.
All right, and there's enough money left in the petroleum funds to remove the tanks at YMCA?
Correct.
So last time, I think we had, what, 35 or 36,000 left?
But this was included in the previous task order. It's
Right.
included.
Oh, okay, so that's already accounted for then, the funds for the removal.
Yes.
Correct. I think under new business, Deanna's going to talk about additional beyond the last budget numbers that we had.
All right, any more reports or anything on old business? Any further questions from the board on old business? All right, so then we'll proceed to
Oh,
items. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just wanted, is there anything else under task order 18 for 49 Church Street?
Nope, that one's completed.
Okay,
And we were under budget by, I think, don't quote me, but I think $1,000.
all right. And what about 19 for the basketball courts?
Was that Providence Street?
Providence,
Yeah,
yep.
Providence
Yeah,
Street, yes.
That's been completed too. Yep,
Okay, great. Thank you.
you're welcome.
All right, so that concludes our discussion on item 5. So we'll go on to item 6, new business.
Okay,
Take it away, Deanna.
yep, we're gonna discuss and consider a new tax order. So we have, there's a Heritage Housing Group is interested in taking over the project that was approved, that was for the Women's Institute. David McCarthy is on the call tonight. He has submitted in a request, which I will read to you in an email. I met with David and the mayor and the city manager by Zoom call, and we were able to have a discussion. So I'm just going to read this for the record. From David McCarthy, we request funding from the city of Norwich's EPA grant to prepare phase 1 ESA for the planned redevelopment of the Reed and Hughes building located at 201 Main Street, Norwich, Connecticut. As discussed, we are reviewing the Reed and Hughes building as a potential redevelopment project to complement our recent investment in the Warrigan. Our plan would involve converting the building into 17 apartments with ground floor retail. We are working with the current owner and its lender to prepare a purchase and sales agreement for the acquisition of the building, which we hope to complete in first quarter of 2022. Renovations will begin immediately following the acquisition. We request a City of Norwich grant to update the phase 1 environmental site assessment in anticipation of applying for state brownfields funding next month. So they were looking at applying for EPA grants for doing the remediation here, but decided, and David's on the call, and if you want him to speak, you can ask him questions as well. They decided that they would wait for the next round of brownfields, DECD brownfields grant. There was work done before, hazardous materials reports and some other, but we could not find a phase 1 for this property that was done. So at their request, I contacted Amy and she came up with a task order for your considerations. Let me call that up 1 second. This is the task order. So Amy, want to go over it a little bit? So let me see.
Yep.
May I
This is,
ask a question to start with here? There's a contradiction there. I think you said that there was no evidence of a phase 1 being done, yet the letter indicates that they want a phase 1 updated.
So Amy can talk to that. There was going to be an update because we knew that the phase 1 would be old and need to be updated. But then after she prepared this, the phase 1, we could not locate one, and David did not find one as well. So that would be changed to be not an update, but a new phase 1.
right. So this task order is for doing a phase 1, similar to the other 12 we've done under, this EPA grant. Same price, same time frame. Again, there was no original phase 1 to go off of, so we'll be doing an original phase 1.
All right, and they have not acquired the building yet from the current owner. So is the current owner agreeable to this phase one assessment being completed before the end of August?
So current owners don't have to be because it's a document. It doesn't really need phase approval from an owner. But David's here on the call, and if you don't mind, David can speak to that. He is the owner of the Waregan that's interested in buying this property. David?
Yeah, hi, everyone. Thanks for letting me join your meeting and for considering this. The current owner is a nonprofit group called Women's Institute for Housing and Economic Development. They've basically gone bankrupt, and the property, all of their other assets in Connecticut are being sold to a different group. That different group couldn't acquire this property. So the lender, the senior lender to the property is kind of calling the shots on this. Women's Institute, virtually doesn't exist at this point. I have spoken at length with the senior lender, and they are agreeable to this.
So if I may ask for
Go ahead, Rich.
clarification here, if we were to go and approve this task order, we would want to go and know that there's definitely going to be access to the property in which to execute the need to go and accomplish the task order. And are you saying that those who have present control over the property will provide that access?
Yeah, it turns out I actually have the one set of keys to this property that exists.
All right, then
He's gonna be turning them over to the city to hold on to them because the city
Right.
had them for a long time to go in there.
Yeah.
So I think the deal is.
just wanted clarification. Thank you. I'm done.
Yeah, I think maybe when they're ready to go on site, I'll try to get up to Norwich and we can facilitate a handoff to the city at that point. But that
All
seems
right.
like the best approach.
Have you walked through the property? Is there continued deterioration, or did they actually complete the roof repair so that there was no more water infiltration?
Yeah, I have been through the property along with my construction manager, and we didn't see any evidence of new deterioration when we were in there. The new work that was done as the stabilization program looked very good. They put up new framed walls, new EPDM roof. Obviously, the property itself is in an advanced state of deterioration, but we felt after evaluation, after reading the structural engineers reports on the building, that it's structurally sound. It just needs a lot of demolition work, and there's a lot of hazardous materials in it.
Okay, yeah, I'm just concerned, there's not floors that are going to collapse when somebody goes in to do an assessment.
No.
The city spent money and worked with the Women's Institute and actually gave them money for stabilization of the building. So it was stabilized just because we knew the amount of time it might take for financing for a nonprofit to do this work, that it had to be stabilized. It was a multiple year project to get the financing. Mr. McCarthy and his organization are not a nonprofit organization. So they will be moving, I'm assuming, a lot quicker, David, once you would close on this property.
All right. And then you mentioned you're probably going to acquire it probably first quarter of 2022 or sooner than that.
Yeah, the schedule for us is really driven by two things. The first is the timing of this brownfields application. I believe there will be a round later this year, but we don't know exactly when. And the state usually takes about 2 months or so to make awards. The second is we have to resubmit this to the State Historic Preservation Office. They never actually approved the historic credits for the project. And so that's a lengthy process. It requires going to the National Park Service. So we figure probably 4 to 6 months to get that ironed out.
All right. Really, the only historic aspect is the facade. Is that correct?
Pretty
The
much.
facade is historic, the windows. There are tin ceilings in the building that SHPO is going to require to be put back. Not in, I mean, we can't use the original tin ceilings, but put back in some sort of form that's in modern materials.
All right. All right, and you do understand that future brownfields grants are not mandatory. They're at the discretion of the EPA and the state, and you may be waiting quite a while before those grants actually do come through.
Yeah, we've been around in Connecticut for a long time. I've been working on various development projects in Connecticut for 16 years now. What I'll say about it is I think this project would qualify for a brownfields, but there's no guarantees, and our purchase contract would be contingent on that. So if we don't get it, we don't close.
So Mark, one of the things we're doing is we're working with David and NCDC after their transition with their new president, Kevin Brown, is to have them partner. Like if I'll be talking about this on the next thing on the agenda. But partnering with NCDC is the nonprofit to help get through that brownfields remediation process as the sponsor, because the grants are really for municipalities, tribal governments, and nonprofits. So that has worked for the city before with NCDC partnering with the for-profit businesses.
All right, I'm just concerned because hey, we went through a phase where we went through at least half a dozen rounds where we were not approved for grants. So like I said, it's nothing is a guarantee as far as the grants go.
It's competitive. We think we have a good project, and the state as well is very interested in this project. The Historic Preservation Office, when this was being considered to be potentially demolished, came out and was going to sue the city to save this building. So this is one of those situations where the state needs to put their money where their mouth is, and we'll make a point of that to make that very strong case. And Amy understands that same concept.
All right, Rich, you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. I mean, I understand where you're going with some of that, but I'm wondering if does that really affect the task order? Because irregardless of whether they actually go and close on it because they don't get the grant or not, would it not be beneficial to the city to have granted a task order and have an understanding from the phase one for whoever might follow through with it in the future?
Absolutely, and I think that Dave just shook his head too. It's important. This is for the future transfer of the property, and for anyone else interested in it to do an update, because we were not able to locate one, and neither was the Women's Institute. So I think this is a really important piece of document to have for everyone, for the city and for for anyone that's purchasing this property.
Yeah, well, I certainly hope he gets the grant, because we certainly would like to go and see that closed and handled expeditiously, but with regards to the task order, it seems to be a fairly beneficial avenue to pursue, especially considering what's left of the funds and the time period in which we have to go and use it.
Yep, so it's a $3,500 task order, which is pretty much consistent with all the other phase ones that we've done. And so what I would ask if you would approve this task order tonight, so we could move it forward to the city manager's office for signature and endorsement.
Well, I would like.
Okay, well, go ahead, Rich.
No, Mark.
All right, Stacy, you have a question?
Well, I sort of just wanted to make a comment, sort of to piggyback on what Deanna said, that hopefully because SHPO is involved, that there will be some grant funding available for Mr. McCarthy and et al. To get this building rehabbed sooner rather than later. Because the city spent a lot of money, along with the Women's Institute and their lenders, stabilizing the building so that something could be done with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe SHPO should be included on, at least a mention on the grant to strengthen the case that, they've been a very strong advocate to save that building.
They will be. We'll definitely, there's a lot of people that would be supporting this. There was the people that the historian for the city came out, Del Plummer, the Historical Society, and like I said, also SHPO. So we'll be getting letters of support from all of them, to help NCDC partner with Mr. McCarthy and his group. So
Right.
that's it from us.
Deanna?
Yep.
Deanna, I have a question. Tucker Braddock speaking.
Yep.
What will the size of the apartments be, Mr. McCarthy?
Yeah, well, we're still, ironing out the details, but I can tell you, when we started looking at this, we were given a copy of the drawings that were done for the Women's Institute. And their plan was veterans housing. We realized pretty quickly that that wasn't a good fit for this building. Nothing wrong with veterans housing, but adding an elevator, all of the state requirements that go along with that, we're filling up the building with unusable space and making the units really small. So the way we've looked at this is reducing the unit count actually from what Women's Institute had, and kind of simplifying the property. So currently we're looking at 17 units, 9 of which would be 1 bedroom, 8 2-bedroom. I'm speaking off the top of my head, so I'm sorry if I got that mixed up. The size of the apartments is really to be determined because we have to get the plans revised to reflect that unit mix. We have, done some sketch work with the architect, but we have not kicked it off until we have a, contract signed on the property.
Sure.
But I think they'd be in the 650 to 900 square foot range.
Will you be utilizing the first floor for apartment space?
We are going to keep it consistent with the current plan, which was retail space in the front and apartments in the back.
Okay.
That is, I believe, what was approved for the project previously. And the building's very deep, so retail space for the whole first floor, you'd be a lot of dead space, basically.
And that did get variances because the regulations don't allow for residential on the first floor in the Chelsea Central. So there was some variances and there was some arguments made about, I think what David is saying about the depth of that and the usability of it. And they were allowed to have some living space on the first floor, but it's not in the front portion of the building.
Okay.
Yeah.
One other quick, it may be a sensitive question, Mr. McCarthy. Will you be looking for the same deal on this building as what you have purchased from Mr. Becker on the Warrigan?
No, the Warrigan is actually affordable housing. It's restricted to individuals at 60, 50, and 25% of the area median income. Our plan for this building was actually to make it market rate properties.
Right.
We are actually planning to make a pretty sizable investment in the property ourselves. And one of the issues at the Warrigan we've run into is the property is doing fantastic, but we end up turning away a fair number of people who want to live at the Warrigan because they're too high. Their income exceeds the limits.
Right. Yeah.
And so, we think having kind of a sister property that could accommodate those renters would be really helpful.
Thank you. I'm encouraged by that comment. Thank you.
All right, and the
Your proposal to accept this task order? Or is there more discussion?
that's what I was just going to ask.
I just wanted to provide maybe some information for David, if it's helpful. DECD had put out a schedule for brownfields funding in December of last year, and they touted 2 rounds for this year. The current round just ended and they announced last week. The next round was slated for August, September. So the announcement would come out, they would give you about a month to get your grant application in, and then they'd be looking to award around December.
Okay.
So David, if you have not reached out to DECD and you know, talked about your project, the capital you're putting in, all your partners, I would recommend doing that now. The most successful applications DECD already knows about. They're not just reading about it for the first time with your application.
Okay.
Also, I don't know if you have worked with the Preservation for Historic Trust here in Connecticut.
Yes.
Okay, so Wes Haynes, he's great, and they sometimes are able to pull in grants. They also have their own funding where they can hire architects and others to help you with your project. So that's another avenue for you.
They've changed their name to Preservation Connecticut. They used to be the
Okay, so see, I'm a little behind the times.
Preservation Connecticut, but this project has already been designed with an architect, David Krosky. It was excellent. David Krosky is going to continue working for David, correct?
Okay,
Yes.
This is Tucker Braddock speaking. I'd like to make a motion. We have to get this task order 21 done anyway. And I wish Mr. McCarthy and his group the very best of success. But we have to get this classified, this part of the first phase of it done anyway. So I would recommend that we move on the task order 21 and that Plan Bond substantiate what they want to substantiate.
All right, so you making the motion then to approve task order 21?
I am.
For
I'll second.
$3,500.
Okay, Rich, you're seconding?
I'm seconding it for the approval of task order 21 for the phase 1 ESA on 201 Main Street for the cost of $3,500.
All right, very good. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll take a vote.
Aye.
We all approve?
Aye.
I
Okay, any objections? All right, so that's a unanimous, so it's 5-0. Task order 21 is approved.
Thank
All right. Thanks, everyone. It was really nice to meet you. Hope to meet you guys in person someday
I'll talk
soon.
to you soon, David.
Good luck, David.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
All right. Further, going further down new business, we come to correspondence.
So I've got a couple things for you. The first thing, remember after our last meeting, we talked about talking to the press and getting that word out there about the money that we had left over. I did do an interview. I sent the information out to both newspapers, to the Day and the Bulletin, and Claire did a really nice article on available that that there was monies available, petroleum contamination money is what she said. That's not my heading for this, but basically talked about the project and what has been done so far. It's a really good article. And it's up on our website. We keep these things in our remote meeting folder on the planning page, so you can read it if you didn't see it in the newspaper. But it's basically telling people that we had about $37,500. No, that's what we assessed here, that we had some monies left over. So I said it's our last ditch effort to try to utilize those funds. We didn't want to, have any left over. So what's happening here is looming 35,879, if you see, is what was remaining. So that was a great article. We did not get any action from the article. I was kind of hoping we did. We didn't, but we did then, hold on, let me get back to the agenda. We did end up hearing from the Reed and Hughes, the new interested party there. So that works out that we're spending a little bit more money down. We'll keep trying to get the word out, but it's getting tighter time frames, so we're not going to have a whole lot of time. The second thing here is the NCDC. So Amy just mentioned about the awards of EDCD grants. So let me get here. So this was the letter that was sent to Bob Buckley as the chairman of NCDC, the board of director chairman, on June 24th that the announcing came up. And this is a cleanup grant, a remediation grant for the South Mill at Panema. This commission, this committee did not do anything with funding anything for the Panema. They had a separate grant that we received, the city received from DECD for $200,000, where we had a consultant, which was Weston and Sampson, that were hired at that time to do the assessment, a market study, and a little bit of a planning design for the South Mill. And it was, at that time, it was focused on being all commercial. The market study didn't show that that would work all commercial there. So they really have revisited that to do some housing along, mostly housing along with commercial there. And had put in revised, had the assessment revised to reflect that the housing was a big component because our assessment was not based on housing. So Weston and Sampson did some updating for them and they applied for the grant. And like I was saying earlier, the One Key, which is the owner of the Panema Mills, is a for-profit business and they cannot apply for grant monies through the state of Connecticut. They have to partner with a nonprofit. So NCDC partnered with them like they did with the North Mill for historic tax credits and other things. And they have signed a contract in there. NCDC was the applicant. Jason Vincent worked on this as well. And they were able to submit the application. Phil Biondo represented One Key on their behalf. He was their real estate guy. And they were just awarded last week the $795,000 for cleanup there. And they do not have an approved project in the city right now. I want to clarify that. The project that was approved many years ago has expired. It's not being built in that way. The design for the interior, not the exterior, but the exterior improvements and the interior of the building has completely changed. So they need to come back to the CCP with a new proposal, and they have yet to do that. But I just want to let you know that the city did see through NCDC some funding for cleanup for the South Mill. And the state really likes this project. They like the historic tax credits on it. They like the appearance of the building, the location, the affordable housing there. So we'll see what happens with future grant applications, you know.
Deanna?
Yep.
Tucker, is that just that $795,000 that was given out by the governor? Is that just a pass through NCDC, or will they determine a fee from that?
Will who get a fee from that?
Will NCDC appreciate any fee from that $700?
I don't know. It's not really. I think that when we do grants, we don't really have we don't really get like an administrative amount of money from there because it's really for doing the work and cleanup. I'm not sure 100% on this, but I can't give you 100% answer, but I can tell you that because the person was awarded and they're doing it on behalf of the for-profit, there's an arrangement between One Key and NCDC where they're a partner in that property and a partner in this project. So I'm sure that there's some kind of arrangement there. I mean, Stacy is on the board of NCDC. I don't know if she feels comfortable commenting or not.
Yeah, I think NCDC will receive some compensation for their efforts in getting this grant application and or the administration of the funds.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good thing.
And I will add that I believe DECD allows 10% of the grant to go for administration oversight.
Thank you, Amy. I was not sure of that. Thank you. So I've offered, just so you know, I've offered my assistance to NCDC to facilitate whatever they need to help them through their brownfields grant as far as when they go through their consultant hiring process, because they'll need to hire a consultant to do the work for the remediation. And then there's reports and all the things that we have to do normally. And so because they're in transition, and I'm not sure Mr. Brown's experience with this or any of the staff there, I have said that if they need my assistance, I am available. I've offered that to Fawn and through John Salamone.
All right, so this grant would fall outside the purview of the RDA then. It's
more of like a heads up. I've wanted you to know that it's exactly, it's not our grant. It's almost like if some of the people that we've done our phase 1s and phase 2s for, like the independent school that Amy worked with them, if they went for a grant, it wouldn't go through RDA. It's like, for cleanup, it goes, but they're a nonprofit, they could go for it, or the Historical Society for one of their properties or something.
Right, so it's really NCDC's, NCDC's grant to administer.
Yes, yep, it is,
All right,
it is.
all right, and none of the remaining assessment one money that we have would go into this project then.
No, because that's a cleanup. Remember, we're not doing any cleanup with our EPA money. It's only assessment. So, they're only still doing assessment. So this money that doesn't get spent would go back. But we've been spending it down pretty good. So maybe there'll be a few more little things that we can get done.
All right, so with the 35 or 3,800 left, we're down to what, 3,100,
Or
something like
30,000. We had like
30,000, about that.
Yeah, so, I mean, again, I can push a little bit more, but there might be things that come up, more tanks. I reached out to the fire departments, I reached out to our public works department, just like some of the suggestions that Amy had, and that Stacy had, and some other people about seeing if there was any properties, like the golf course, if they had a tank, that was removed, the tank that was there. And one of the criteria is you can't remove a tank that you put in yourself either. So we had to make sure that anything, it wasn't anything that we did, but there was nothing that qualified. The fire marshal didn't have anything on any of our properties. And I asked NPU as well. So I really did some investigative work to see if anybody needed some help with the petroleum.
All right, so there's nothing in city-owned properties then.
Nope, nothing jumping out at this point.
All right, and then no one's come forward for any request from the newspaper articles.
No, but again, you can still push it out, push it out a little bit more. So.
All right, Rich, go ahead.
Yeah, so what I'm getting out of this is while we have some new correspondence in the new business, there isn't anything that is actionable on our part.
Nope, it's more on the correspondence, just like FYI, nothing else.
Understand. Thank you.
All right, any further comment on the new business?
I have one, please.
Go ahead, Stacy.
Deanna, did you reach out to Bill Ibers is the new chief at Yantic? Because I think they have an underground storage tank that may need removal.
But if the city put the tank in, we can't remove it. So if we put it in, we can't remove it. If we did the potential, that's what the thing is. So like the golf course was like, we bought it and it had that issue. So Amy, do you want to comment on that?
Right, you can't
The building,
use,
Yannick's building is not owned by the city.
okay,
But did the city fund the installation of the tank?
I don't know.
right. The stipulation with the funds is you can't use it on a property where you would potentially be responsible for causing the contamination. So if it is a city-owned property, if the city had installed the tank and owned the tank, then they cannot use the funds to assess the tank.
And even if the Yantic Fire Department themselves, as a separate entity, installed the tank and used the tank, we wouldn't be able to do it on their behalf because they'd be responsible.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, so I mean, if you think when they purchased the building that it was there, prior, then we can, if you can get me that information, Stacy, but I did reach out to the different fire departments and I didn't get anything, and to the fire
Okay,
marshal.
because it's probably not original to the building because the building's over 100 years old.
Yeah, I know, that's what I was
The
thinking.
original portion of the building is over 100 years old. So if an underground tank went in, it was probably the fire department putting it in.
Yeah, so which
Would have
means,
been cold before that.
Yeah, so if it was, so if the fire department put it in, they're
They're responsible
responsible.
for getting it out. Okay.
Right, so the
Alright.
polluter cannot benefit from his own pollution
it's potential, we're not saying that. It is.
potential.
All right, good. All right,
All
so
right.
Mark, there is no citizens on this call any longer.
All right, so we'll bypass citizen comment, entertain a motion for adjournment, and if that's
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
I'll
All
second the motion.
motion made by Stacy, seconded
Seconded
by
by
Rich,
myself. Yes.
and all All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, I guess we are adjourned then.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you,
Have a
Deanna,
great
and thank you,
July
Amy.
weekend.
Everyone
Stay
have a great
cool.
weekend.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Happy
Have
Independence.
a July 4th.
Bye,
Do
guys.
you think we're going to be having a meeting in July?
Not sure yet. We'll see. I'm gonna try to drum up some business. So give me a chance.
All
Wonderful
right.
email.
Deanna, drumming up business. I say this a lot of times. What about putting something in the NPU newsletter
Okay.
or going on the radio?
I could do the radio thing. I think MPU newsletters, I mean, the MPU, the newsletters go out with the bills and they're, that takes a little bit of time and it wouldn't necessarily be targeted the audience that we want. But Stacy, if you want to work with getting on the radio, we can do that.
Okay,
All right.
all right,
We'll do it after the 4th one if you want to try to coordinate that.
okay,
Okay, cool.
thank you.
All right.
Guys,
Very good. Good night, everyone.
bye.